Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be responding. So, yes, this is going to still be a Love Island video, topic related video, but this is my response to this creator on TikTok, and he has a YouTube channel called Wilden, and he makes like opinion videos, right? But I feel like his takes I usually agree with, but recently I feel like there's a blinder on some of his takes, and I'm a very objective, logical person. When I rationalize things, I'm thinking about the logical things, right? Like what makes the most sense? Why would I expect something? But basically, this man made a video mocking, like, okay, when it comes to the whole Nick and Cierra thing, there's people arguing over whether or not Nick owes a conversation to Cierra after he gets out the villa, on the basis of, oh well, they were coupled up for 3 weeks and they slept together multiple times. And he basically made a video claiming like Nick owes her a conversation. But this is where I disagree with him. I disagree that a conversation is owed to her. I agree a conversation maybe would be nice, maybe would be respectable, but I also don't think he owes it to her, and I don't think he's a bad person if he doesn't have a conversation with her. And here's why. I think people are forgetting, like, it is a show. Love Island is a show. We don't see everything on the show where we see like hour episodes of a 24-hour day. So it's not like we're seeing everything and know everything, know the ins and outs of people's relationships. However, I think this is why I logically can't conclude Nick owes a conversation to Cierra. In my opinion, the only time you're obligated, an emotional obligation occurs, is if you're in a committed relationship with someone, right? So I feel like in the confine of a relationship, there's an emotional obligation established to that person, to where you're obligated to consider that person's feelings, that person's desires, that person's wants, whatever. I feel like in a committed relationship, that is a understandable and reasonable obligation or expectation of another person, right? I was in a committed relationship with this person, and they you know, cheat on me or break up with me and move on to someone else, yeah, I'm going to expect like the person that gave me a verbal commitment to me to explain themselves to me, right? And even in that case scenario, there's some people who don't get that, right? So like at the end of the day, some things are just nice to have, but you can't force someone to give you closure or to give you answers. Someone who's hurt you in a past relationship, right? Like it maybe would be nice if you got that closure or got a conversation, but you're not always going to get that. That's with someone you were in a committed relationship with, and with someone that you're not in a committed relationship with, right? However, I feel like when it comes to situationships, which is what I would consider Cierra and Nick's relationship on the show, it was a situationship. I don't feel like they were this super, their relationship never came off to me as being like very, it just wasn't a relationship that I watched and was like, oh, this is like a strong relationship. These people are great together. Because I could tell from even watching the show, and Cierra herself said, like, I'm more invested in this relationship than he is. I feel like I like him more. Like, she had all of these intuitive thoughts that were true about her relationship with Nick, but she considered pursuing him anyway. She considered chasing after him anyways. And so in response to his video, I basically said, like, at the end of the day, Nick does not owe her a conversation. I was like, a lot of what Cierra's feelings are related, are the consequences of her own actions and choices. Because I feel like this is the other thing. No one is ever taking into account that this woman was removed from the show for breaking the contract for using language that was offensive to the Asian community in previous videos. Like, she got removed from the show. It wasn't like she was just dumped. It wasn't like she was voted off. She was literally removed as a consequence of her own actions and choices and language that she used. So in my opinion, people who are jumping to this conclusion, oh, well, we're still supposed to treat her leaving as though something was done dirty to her, and Nick moving on, he broke something, that he went against something that he established with Cierra. I'm so sorry, but the fact that she was removed for behavior and language and something, in my opinion, if someone's removed from the show for something that is seriously offensive like that, I'm not going to sit here, and I feel like that might change the way you view that person, right? You're like, oh, well, I wasn't expecting this person to be like that, right? Now, Nick said in interviews he didn't know, like, the exact things that happened that she was removed. He just knows she got removed from the show. And, you know, he decided based off of, you know, not knowing what he wanted to align with, not feeling maybe like his connection with her was strong enough that it was worth leaving. Because I think people forget, like, being closed off in Love Island is basically just being like, well, I'm not talking to anybody else in this villa. Like, I'm only talking to you. It's kind of just like, it's not boyfriend, girlfriend. It wasn't committed. They weren't exclusive in the sense. It was just like, oh, I'm not, like, actively exploring other connections. Like, you're the only person that I want to continue talking to, exploring at this point. That to me is closed off. So in a sense, like, them being closed off is still not like a committed relationship. It was more so like, at that point, Nick was only going to be focusing on his connection with Cierra in the villa at that point. It didn't mean that they were boyfriend and girlfriend outside the villa. And then 3 days after them being closed off, right, she got removed. And you can tell even in the show, like, he was kind of conflicted. He did feel sad. He was upset about how that happened. But ultimately, he said he didn't feel like it would have been the right choice for him to leave with her. So he stayed. And you can't fault this man for staying in the villa after that. He didn't know if he was how long he was gonna be staying. He couldn't have predicted him and Alandria were gonna end up, you know, reconnecting after that. I really feel like he was just like, you know, I want to ride out my experience till the end. Like, even if that means, like, I leave single, whatever. I feel like that was really why he stayed. But at the end of the day, him, like, it's almost like people feel like he owes Cierra loyalty because they were closed off. And to me, I'm just like, that's not the premise of the show. The premise of the show is to find your best connection. And the fact that he was only focused on exploring Cierra at a certain point, but she gets removed because of her own actions and behaviors, he decides to stay. I can't fault him for staying. He didn't know that him staying meant he was going to find a stronger connection, though. That's where I'm just like, people need to realize, like, it's a show. Like, y'all are making every choice and action in the villa as though people are in committed relationships if they're coupled up with someone. And that's just not how the nature of the show. The nature of the show is literally, you're supposed to talk to as many people to find your best connection. So anyways, the people who believe that Nick owes Cierra this conversation because of the fact that they were coupled up for a long period of time being 3 weeks, and had slept together on multiple times. But this is the thing. This is why I'm like, okay, y'all are so focused on, to me, there people think it's owed because solely because of the sex. Solely because they slept together. Because they slept together, he owes her a conversation. And this is why I strongly discourage casual sex. And I strongly discourage sleeping with someone you're not in a committed relationship with. Because this is the reason. Cierra caught feelings for Nick because she was sleeping with him. Nick did not catch feelings for Cierra because he was sleeping with her. I want y'all to understand what I'm saying. Cierra's attachment to Nick is because they were having sex. Nick's attachment to Cierra was not because they were having sex. This is why I tell, like, men and women have different experiences with sex. I feel like if you are going to participate in casual sex, meaning sleeping with someone you're not in a committed relationship with, you should not be expecting emotional obligations from that person you are sleeping with casually. Because without the confine of a committed relationship, you really are risking. You're risking you're risking a lot regardless, but you're not, there isn't a secure attachment to that person, right? You can't have the expectation of loyalty and committed from someone that you are sleeping with casually. And I want to say the majority of the time Cierra and Nick slept together was before they were closed off. They slept together really early on. And I'm like, after 2 days of her knowing him. And I'm just like, this girl sleeping with that man when he never told her, like, I'm only interested in you or whatever. To me, I could never rationalize, like, why she would do something like that. Not because of shaming her, whatever, like, if she can sleep with whoever she wants, but to me, for the basis of the show, but finding your best connection, it's like most couples don't do that until they're like closed off more. I don't know, it just is like, to me, it didn't come off as like, oh, you're doing this, oh, because it came off manipulative. That's the best way I can say it. I feel like her sleeping with Nick very early on, to me, was very manipulative. It was her marking her territory, her not wanting other people in the villa to keep talking to him by making it known, like, oh, we're sleeping together, so, like, I've gotten one up on all the other girls, and like, he's mine type of thing. That's how it came off to me watching the show. It came off like she did it to mark her territory, but at the same time, I also do think it made her more attached to him, and she says it herself. There's like a part in, like, when they go on their date where they get couple or closed off, where Cierra's like, I knew the first time we slept together that I only wanted you and I didn't want to be with everyone else. Like, girl, 2 days in you slept with that man, and from that point you decided that was the only person. This is why I'm saying, like, Cierra's mentality doesn't make sense to me, in a sense of, like, you were genuinely trying to find your best connection, because you went in focused on one person only explored that one person, sent other people home for claiming they weren't exploring other people. While doing that, I feel like she's done so many hypocritical things. I do not hate Cierra. I do not dislike her. This is what I'm saying. I'm talking about her actions and choices in an objective manner, because I'm not biased to liking or disliking her. I just don't think the things and choices and actions she had in the villa aligned up to her victimizing herself in her self-imposed interview on TikTok. It's like, I can say, give her like all of the props. Yes, she genuinely really liked Nick. She really was interested in him. She was really attracted to him. But I also feel like she was the main person driving the ship of the connection and relationship she wanted with Nick, and her ignoring that intuition um of her liking him more, him not giving her that reassurance that she wanted, the fact that he was always choosing Alandria. It's just like things that most women would be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't put all my eggs in this one basket. It was like she wasn't like, she made the connections but still stayed with him. I don't know. So anyways, I really feel like she had blinders on when it came to Nick in a certain sense. I would say like she felt their connection was stronger than what it actually was as a viewer watching the show. Anyways, what most people are arguing, like, because they slept together, that's why he owes her a conversation. And I'm just like, in what real world scenario, if you slept with someone you knew after 2 days, would you, and that person, decides like, oh, I'm not interested in you, and starts dating a new person that they like, let's say you went to jail or something, I don't know, it's just like, it's a show, that's the whole thing. Like, the scenario in question is not even applicable to like a real world scenario, but it's just like if you had a one night stand with one person and then they end up in a relationship, you're not expecting a conversation from that person, right? But also, when it comes to like the coupling up aspect of the show, it's more so, to me, what makes it understandable for me is that there isn't an obligatory commitment that Nick made to Cierra, right? He didn't promise her he was going to see her outside the villa. He didn't promise her that he would leave with her if she, like, I don't know. There's just so many things that I feel like he did what you were supposed to do in the game, which is find your best connection. He wasn't expecting Cierra to be removed. He had no control over her being removed, but you think he's responsible for having a conversation with him because once she was removed, he found a stronger connection with someone else. It's just like, I fear people are trying to paint him as though he's obligated to her her feelings because she was removed, because at one point they were closed off and then she was removed and he moved on. And to me, I'm like, in the context of the show, there really isn't an obligation. Like, it's for the show in and of itself. If someone got dumped, that's like saying Iris owed TJ an explanation when she moved on with Pepe. Like, she did end up seeing him, but TJ also didn't throw shade at Iris. TJ wasn't TJ's friends were not like, I feel like it's like, I also feel like too, what is also being ignored is that she was removed for bad behavior. It's just like a lot of Islanders left the show and distanced themselves from her for that reason. And I also feel like the fact that he's moved on is the closure that she should get from it. It's just like, I feel like I don't know. I feel like she's a victim of her own expectations of him, honestly. Um, because me personally, if there is someone I really liked and they moved on, I know I have to move on. Like, I'm gonna be hurt about it. Yeah, but I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna care, and I'm not gonna want anything else from that person. It's almost like she doesn't want to let it go, and that's what I find kind of off-putting. Um, because I don't know, why are you holding on to someone who's no longer interested in you? Um, and I don't know. It's almost like she's still begging for his attention even outside the villa. Like, in the villa, she was begging for his attention, and it's like she's still begging for it outside. And I just don't think like that is I personally wouldn't want to be begging for the attention of someone who, I didn't feel like treated me the way I wanted to be. But this is the thing, like, Nick didn't actually do something to Cierra. Like, that's the problem. I feel like that I'm not understanding, like, people saying like he did something way worse than what Taylor did in the villa, because all Nick actually did was stay on the show and continue exploring connections, which is the point of Love Island. Him doing that is not doing her dirty. He stayed true to himself. And I also think it's like the way people are acting, like, oh, he, like, Cierra got dumped for no fault of her own, and then he just moved on to someone else and forgot all about her. It's like, no. She got removed for the language she used outside of the show, and then Nick was sad for a little bit, and then decided, you know what, I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna keep playing the game of the show, find my best connection. I don't think him and Orlandria, like, that's why I'm like, y'all's biases of believing Nick and Orlandria faked their entire relationship is also what's leading to a lot of people's hatred towards Nick and Orlandria, because y'all want to dislike them so bad. You want to try to find fault with how they got coupled up. And they both said, in like so many interviews, like, when they both got dumped the first time, unintentionally, right, at random, and they had the choice to leave single or couple up and stay, they decided to stay. And at this point, Nick is like, obviously was interested in Alandria. Alandria and Nick had shown interest from the very first episode, but because of how Cierra came into the villa the next day, solely focused on Nick, then slept with him. Taylor was doing her own thing. And Alandria said herself, like, you had two girls fighting over you. I didn't want any parts of that. So she took a step back, even though she had always had interest in him. And Nick basically had interest in Alandria, kept choosing her in challenges, but he also was still exploring his connection with Cierra, who he was coupled up with. They basically were both always focused on other people that very beginning of the show. And then when they happened to both get removed and have the option, it's like they tried to explore it, but they didn't. It wasn't like their previous relationships were fully ended, so it felt weird for them to continue, which is why after that Soul Ties kiss, which clearly was not just a friendship kiss, they were both like, we should just be friends, because they're like, look, we still have other people that we kind of have slight obligations to at that point. Alandria and Taylor, it's not like they had communicated that their relationship was completely over. And the same with Cierra and Nick. So I feel like that conversation they had kind of made them be like, okay, I think we should just focus on the people that we've already been coupled up with. But then if fate would intervene, we all saw Taylor ends up choosing Clark over Alandria, and Alandria basically is like, that's over. Like, she doesn't have him as an option, which was her strongest connection at that point. And then Cierra gets removed because of racist language she used before getting on the show, which was, again, not in anyone's control. And his strongest connection at that point is removed. And they go back to each other. Neither one of us has our strong connection here anymore. Maybe we should try to explore this initial spark that we had, whatever, and downplayed because of our previous connections. And that's why we have Nicolandria right now. But neither of them, I just can't understand. What did Nick actually do to Cierra that y'all feel like he owes her something? It's just like he coupled up with her from the beginning, communicated, every time. He communicated that he was still open multiple times. Cierra wanted him to be closed off very early with her and only focus on her. And he kept telling her, like, I'm not ready for that. I'm not doing that. And the fact that she was still sleeping with him, still doing all these things, knowing that is not Nick's fault. Cierra did that to herself. She continued pursuing only him and didn't really try to explore other people, which in my opinion, she wasn't playing the game. That is Love Island. You are supposed to, I feel like she was too busy chasing Nick that she wasn't exploring her other connections. That's how I personally felt watching the show. So she did all of that, was only focused on Nick, and then gets removed. Her loyalty to Nick from the jump is not Nick's, doesn't mean Nick was obligated to be loyal back to her from that point. Like, that's what I feel like that's what people are doing. They're projecting, well, Cierra was only loyal to Nick the entire time, therefore Nick's obligated to be loyal to her. But she had loyalty to that man after 2 days of knowing him, and she did that to herself. She had no reason to. He hadn't told her, I'm only committed to you, I'm only exploring you, I only want you. She was saying that about him the whole time. That's why I'm saying, like, do we not watch the same show? There's something delusional happening here where people think because one person is so committed to that person. I'm like, a relationship requires two committed people. Cierra was committed to Nick like the entire time. Nick didn't actually close off with Cierra or offer her any type of commitment until they were closed off, which happened after him and O had coupled up and then decided to be friends. And then Cierra was removed and he had no control over her being removed. So again, what is it that you actually have a problem with? You have a problem with the fact that you think Nick was obligated to be with Cierra because they slept together. But Iris wasn't obligated to be with TJ and they slept together. Huda wasn't obligated to be with Chris and they slept together. And Huda also wasn't obligated to be with Jeremiah and they slept together. So why do you think that only applies to Nick and Cierra as a couple, but nobody else? Also, like I said, things happen outside the villa that, in my opinion, it's understandable why Nick is taking his time thinking about what he wants to do, if he should reach out. And personally, I feel like Cierra shouldn't have expected anything from Nick after seeing him, how he moved on in the villa. Like, does it suck for Cierra to watch someone that you really like find a better connection with someone that was also your friend in the villa? Yes, I would say that is probably not a great feeling, but I also don't think her shading him on a TikTok video, which sent, them both hate outside, and now people are calling them horrible people, her blocking his sister and other family members, are actions you should take if you want to be on good terms with them as people. Like, even if it hurts you to see that they moved on but you still expected some type of relationship with them, you wouldn't do those things. Like, why would you shade that person and then expect them to want to have a conversation with you? Nick and Alondra never shaded Cierra. in their interviews. All Nick said was basically like, this is how it happened. I'm still thinking, I'm processing everything and like figuring out, you know, my next steps. He didn't say he was never going to talk to Cierra. He didn't say like any of those things. And then the internet got involved and basically is trying to say he's obligated to do that. And first and foremost, I just don't agree with that. You're not obligated. He's not obligated to have a conversation with her if he was not in a committed relationship. That's just point blank, period. There's not an obligation to someone if you never made, you have to have like, there has to be like a promissory boundary set first, right? Like if I'm in a committed relationship, if I give someone my word that I'm going to do something with them, yes, I'm obligated, but I didn't promise that person anything. I'm not obligated to have that. Like I said, it would be a nice thing, and I feel like it was something that was considered, but after the way things have progressed outside, I don't see it happening at this point. I think like they'll be cordial if they meet in person, happenstance, but I also don't agree with the fact that people expected Nick, who's just found another connection and has already moved on from Cierra. Like, I'm sorry, he moved on from his connection to Cierra. Why would you think he's gonna get out and be like, oh, let me go find Cierra immediately and have a conversation with her? Because it wasn't his priority. It's like he has his own life. It's almost like the people who see this, like, they only are focused on, I feel like they just hate Nick and love Cierra. I don't know. It's like you're only focused on, I really think it's like they just hate Nick and want to find something about him to hate, because I feel like he's been nothing but honest with Cierra. He never tried to string her along. I wouldn't even say he wasn't chasing Cierra down. Like, it wasn't like he was actively always looking to sleep with Cierra. I feel like Cierra initiated all of these sexual things with Nick, which, yes, he consented to being in, but it wasn't like he was pushing to get those things from her. It always was like her pushing to get those things from him. And she even said, like, in another video, like, I'm not getting passionate kisses from him. Like, I want to be making out with him. So it's just like, girl, the signs were there. But like I said, I do think Cierra was kind of locked in on Nick very early on, didn't really try to explore, and I do think that worked against her, because like I said, if your best connection is someone that is going to be showing the same, if not more, interest in you, and relationships where the girl likes the guy more are never great relationships. They're never very strong. Like, the best relationships, the guy likes the girl more. Those are the ones that, in my opinion, end up lasting, because the guy has to like you more, or he's just settling for you and you're the best option he has at that point. Like, I wouldn't want to be with a guy where I felt like he was settling to be with me. Like, oh, well, you're the one that is, you know, easiest right now, and I know you really like me and I don't have to do a lot of work to get your commitment, whatever. I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who's not actually fully invested, interested, whatever. Anyways, I think that's really all I wanted to say. I believe Wildens, I think that's his handle. His take on it was very biased. Biased by his hatred / dislike of Nick, and him finding, like I said, the ways they're trying to find fault with Nick is through Cierra, which in my opinion is kind of weird. Like, you're making it seem like he promised this girl a relationship outside the villa, which he didn't. And I also don't think him continuing to be on the show and happening to find stronger relationships means he did something dirty. It's literally the point of the show. He did what you're supposed to do on the show. Like, he could have left single and not found another connection at all. That's just not what ended up happening. Anyways, that's all I have to say.